eye contact, engaging the chat, and asking questions. That's it. Those are the three most important things you can do for what's this video about again? Hi, everybody. I'm Reverend Jim Keith, the digital minister at the Riverside Church and the director of online innovation at Convergence. And today we're going to talk about, it's really simple. We're going to talk about three most important ways to make hybrid worship more engaging for the online congregant. And you see, I kind of already told you all my answers, but let's get into the first one. Number one, make eye contact. Yeah, that's a pretty basic one. When we're talking to somebody, you tend to look them in the eye. Up here, people, come on. And in these online spaces, where do you look to make eye contact with the online congregation? At the camera. I mean, this is pretty easy to understand intellectually, cognitively, but then to actually do it, it continues to baffle me. I mean, maybe you are a church where 95% of your congregation are sitting in the room and only a small percentage are online. Okay. So maybe in that sense, you should spend 95% of your time looking at the 95% of the people in the room. But I'm guessing your online congregation has grown quite a bit, or it has the potential to grow quite a bit. Where I serve at Riverside, we're finding that roughly 60% of our worshiping congregation on Sunday morning during the 11 a.m. worship hour are online. Most of our congregation isn't in the room. Now, maybe your numbers are different, but whatever they are, first you need to be aware of what those numbers are so you can have a sense of who's gathered for worship and where they're located. But regardless, if you are live streaming, if you are recording your worship service, you need to spend some of your time looking at all of the people, not just all of your time looking at some of the people. Did you catch that? Let's hear that again. You need to spend some of your time looking at all of the people, not just all of your time looking at some of the people. Now, like I said, this is easy to, cognitively assent to. Yeah, that's a great idea. But then actually doing it is hard. Now, I was back in New York in November for the first time in a long time, and I got to preach on a Sunday morning in person. I've done some recorded remote sermons during the pandemic, but this was actually stepping into the physical pulpit in the room. And so I had to take my own advice of looking in the eyes of that camera. We have a multi-camera setup, but we have one camera designated as our eye contact camera for the worship leader. And so I took my own advice. I took the challenge and I was like, I'm going to be intentional about looking at that camera and then queuing up our tech team. Like I said, every time you see me looking over there, switch to it. I'm going to be giving lots of dedicated eye contact to the online community. And I think I did pretty good. Let's take a quick look. Now we're going to begin, and I need all of us to try something. Everyone at home, everyone here in the space, if you are willing and able, I would love to have you stand up for a minute. As Reverend Thorne has been inviting us, we're discovering the ways that sermons can be embodied experiences. So I want us to try something embodied right now. Okay, you all ready? You're gonna do this with me? Put your right hand in, put your right hand out. Say it with me. Put your right hand in and shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Left hand. Put your left hand in, put your left hand out, put your left hand in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Fantastic. You can have your seats. Thank you. For those of you that have had do the hokey pokey in church on your bucket list, you can check that one off now. Yeah, not bad. You can watch the whole sermon if you want. The link is wherever they show up on YouTube. I forget which way I should point. But the point behind this is making eye contact is essential. It's a simple thing that goes a long way for the worshiping congregation online to feel so much more engaged and connected with everything happening in the space. And it might be awkward at times for the people in the room to be, experiencing this sort of line of sight dissonance, but it's a good reminder for them that they're not the only ones here. Think about it. You don't spend all your time looking at one section of the pews, do you? You don't just look only at, aisle 13 or whatever it is, you scan and make time to let your gaze cast upon everybody. Well, remember who the everybody includes. That camera, it represents a whole lot of everybody. Number 2, engage the live chat. Oh, this one again, simple yet significant. Now there's a couple implications here. First, it supposes that there is some ability to have a live chat in whatever form of live streaming hybrid worship you're doing. Maybe you're using Zoom, there's a Zoom chat. Maybe you're doing Facebook Live, there's live comments on Facebook. YouTube has YouTube live chat. There's all the different platforms. They tend to often have some sort of a live chat space. I know some churches turn it off because they don't want it to be, an unmoderated, things could get out of control, whatever kind of a space. But I mean, do you mute and silence and disallow the people in the room from ever uttering a word? No. So I'm weary of that. I think there should be space for the people gathered in online spaces to pass the peace, participate in responsive readings, whatever the role might be, just to shout amen. And by shout, I mean type in all caps. No, number 2, this also implies that you will have someone present to engage the live chat. You don't just let it happen. You have someone who is designated, empowered, authorized to facilitate that space, to welcome people, to say good morning, to greet them by name as they log on and as they chime in, to respond to whatever comments or questions they might have. At our context, that's often me. We're building a team of volunteers who can help support that role and be a part of that work as well. Digital greeters, I think, are so essential for the work of digital ministry, especially in our Sunday morning worship services. But just the point is to engage the live chat, to recognize it exists and to use it in some intentional way, which we're going to get into in a minute here. It's this intentionality that is largely the through line of every bit of advice I give for digital ministry. It's just the stuff we already do. We've always been doing it. Now we're just doing it in a digital space, a digital way with intentionality rather than just, whatever happens, happens. Although how much of ministry is a whatever happens, happens approach? So there you have it. Number 2, engage the live chat. Number 3, dun, 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 ask questions and share the responses. Oh, that first part's important. That second part, maybe even more important. So ask questions specifically to the people who are worshiping online in your hybrid space. At Riverside, every Sunday during the welcome, call it the life of the community, during our opening portion of worship, we always ask 2 questions specifically to our online community. Where are you joining us from? And then we have some question that pertains or connects to the sermon or the themes of worship that day. And then the best part is we don't just ask the question, but we also share the responses. At the end of worship, just before the benediction, the person leading the benediction will share all the different locations people are joining us from. We actually share how many people are worshiping online too. We do the math with the whole thing. There's a video about that as well you can watch. But then we share where people are joining us from. Today we had this many people worshiping online coming from Kentucky, Colorado, Alabama, Utah, Idaho, Michigan, and Ontario, Canada, or whatever the people said in the chat, and more, because there's people who didn't put anything in the chat who are still worshiping online. And then we ask them this question, and here's what you had to say. And this does a couple of things. Number 1, we're asking the question early in worship, which engages the online worshiper in a very intentional and direct way. And then we're bringing that back. We didn't just forget about that information. That wasn't just a throwaway question because we wanted your fingers to be active. We valued your input. And then we had someone who was, tasked with engaging the live chat, who was keeping track of all the things you're typing in. I put it into a nice little Slack message, send it to the person doing the benediction, and keep it all together so they can just read one message rather than having to hunt through the whole live chat. That would just be, no, don't make people do that. You need someone who's tasked to do the work, who's empowered, who's supporting it so it can all happen consistently and well. So then the person leading the benediction can simply read off where people are joining from and what their responses are. And again, what this does is a couple of things. It brings the people worshiping online to the center, where it's so easy for them to be invisible, out of sight, out of mind, forgetting about them. You can feel forgotten yourself. Are there other people worshiping online? I don't know. I feel like it's just me and my cat. But suddenly you are reminded there are whatever number of us from whatever locations. And here's some of the things we said. They get to have their words voiced in the space. And it reminds everyone worshiping in the physical space, once again, you are not the only ones. In fact, in our context, you are the minority. And it allows us all to hear from this group of our worshiping community. So yeah, ask questions, share responses. And what else? What would you add? These are my 3 things. I'm trying to keep it tight and simple. But what else would you add? Leave a comment below. And I'd love to hear from you, what your thoughts are. And maybe I'll reach out. We'll have a whole conversation, or I'll unpack it in an upcoming video. But until then, enjoy these final moments of 2022, unless you're watching this in the future. Hey, future person, welcome to 2023. How's it going up there? Digital ministry is not going away. This thing is I mean, when can we stop calling it digital ministry? And when can we just call it ministry? Because if ministry doesn't have a digital component, we're just missing out on the necessity of engaging everyone in every way they are present. Sounds like that's a whole other video to talk about. Okay, more on that some other time. Talk to you again next time.